user-centric design is a must. It's something that I think is an integral part of good space making.
Thank you so much for having us here today.
First off, thank you again for having us, and it's a pleasure to speak with you, and we've been connected for the last 3 years, and we finally meet here.
You're right.
It's always good to be back in Bangalore. Could you tell us a little more about what OCD really stands for, and what is it that you do to collaborate with each other?
OCD stands for Office of Cognitive Design, and it started with an idea to have an office that is not defined by a location, an office that will be defined by the network of minds coming together. Cognitive meaning that we are a thinking office, so we do not concentrate on a particular scale, a type of project or an aesthetic. We are not known for any of these. What we are known for is to understand strategy, space, the use, and for whom that we're designing. Aesthetics, planning, everything actually falls in place.
Right. What I also understand is you have delved into product design in a big way as well, right? And
So when you talk about product design, it's mainly about user centricity. But do you really see user centricity in architecture today?
Another great question, I must say. So, I am a graduate of architecture, right? So I have a B.Arch. I have a master's in design thinking. So I have evolved from the architect's education to understanding the advantages of user-centric design. So with this evolution, I say that user-centric design is a must. It's something that I think is an integral part of good space making.
I'm glad to hear your perspective, but could you give me an example of this?
There is a new requirement for housing for the aging that's growing in popularity in India. So what we've done is we have actually had a qualitative understanding of a existing project and all the things that are right and all the things that are wrong that have been made in this project. One of the focuses, if we have to talk about the product, is the kitchen.
right.
And there is no reason why a kitchen has to be X number of feet in all the projects. And this happens to be the case in this particular project. We understood the problems about people beyond 60 or 70. This is not everyone, but we need to understand both extremes, right? So we understood what rheumatoid arthritis does to someone, what is the perception of distance, what is the perception of color. We might think that, 5 steps from the kitchen to the dining table isn't much, but if you are thinking of an Indian meal that has chapatis, rice, sambar, so someone who's actually cooking it probably has to make that trip 3 times, right? So it's an extensive study that happened for about 6 months, and we've created a kitchen or a kitchenette, which is basically about 6 feet, which has an integrated micro fridge, which has an integrated sink, a dustbin which is super easy to clean, integrated trolley so that you can keep all your food and go once to the dining table and then probably leave it at the wash. Very little cabinet spaces because you don't really need to store so much food. No dado because if you think about it, as beyond 35, you shrink a centimeter every year. And also with rheumatoid arthritis, you are really restricted with your movement. So by bringing down the cabinets itself and by sticking to a sliding motion, we avoid a lot of injuries that are happening with normal hinge doors.
Right. Okay, that's interesting to know. Was this really a brief given by the client, or was it something that you did mainly to improve lives of people?
Yeah, so it was a complete 360-degree circle. Actually, the client came to us to design a new space.
Okay.
And we said that if we have to design a new space, I'd like to look at how people are actually using your old space and what they like and what they don't like about it. So once we did the research, we came up with a product, and we actually came up with a brief ourselves, saying that these kind of inserts into the toilet, into your furniture, into your bedrooms, into the kitchen can boost your sales, and it actually happened.
Okay.
And then we ended up taking the next project for architecture.
Okay.
So it was never an interior or a product design kind of a project.
Got it.
But it happened that we took that on first as a challenge, and we got the architecture.
This is really interesting because I think
I face this all the time. Being from a research background, what I've noticed is most of the time people want a bankable document. They don't really value research.
Yeah.
but I think the value of research is
Yeah.
so much.
So that was about living spaces. Would you want to tell me a little about what you're doing in the workspace front? There's a lot of standardization that happens. Do you really get to design much there?
We've created a co-working space here. We've designed and built a co-working space called Kafnu
Okay.
in Bangalore, and it's actually an international brand that made foray into India, and this is the first Indian space. So they wanted to know, with their brand language, how can we make it more relevant in India, right? So that is the bigger question.
Right.
So what we did is we actually got in a lot of craftsmanship into their existing palette. Okay, the floor pattern, they have a black floor and a grey floor kind of a color theme. So we have Kadapa over here, which is a Karnataka and Andhra border. So we use Kadapa and granite, but having said that, we laid the granite and Kadapa in a basic Rangoli pattern.
Okay.
Right, so it's a black floor, but there are brass strips which highlight the geometry of Rangoli.
Okay, that's great. In the same context, let me just ask you, when you're talking about product design, do you really end up practicing sustainability? And if yes, is there some living example that you can give me right here in this room?
A great example is this chair, for example. This is a Danish design that's found its way to Bombay. It's made out of satin wood, but there's a lot of rosewood details in this that we have actually brought it back into shape ourselves. The leather is actually a vegetable dyed leather, which is very rarely found,
Okay.
right? So we've used a lot of turmeric and other naturally dyed leathers over here, and we've actually stitched this in-house with artisans that generally work with clothes.
Okay.
And so all of this is actually made out of upcycled products. Okay. Another small example of how we've used plants to our advantage is a strategy that we used in a co-working space called Kafnu. So in Europe, what you do is actually you're allowed to bring in a pet, and yeah. So the plant actually plays a role of talking to your reptilian mind, right? So it becomes part of your habit loop to actually come into this office and water it and nurture it, right? So in a co-working space, you have mainly people who are freelancers. In this particular co-working space, who are freelancers, who are there, who are the master of their time, let's say, and their craft. So a lot of times you need to have a strategy that allows them to actually get motivated to come to work. So it's also part of meeting the right kind of people, but also having this plant to nurture it and come every day and look at it grow in your reptilian mind actually makes you want to come back to the office.
Okay.
Reptilian brain. Looks like we could go on with this conversation forever. Let's take this beyond the camera. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I really look forward to collaborating with you in future as well.
I'm glad that we got in touch. I'm glad that we got the opportunity to speak about things that I love and that you love.